I was recently lucky enough to get invited to the beta. Of course, anyone that hasn't been invited will get to try this game out from the 1st of February, and I can certainly say that it is worth doing so. The game is a lot of fun, and even though I only have a few hours playing it, I can tell straight away that this is a game I'll be putting some hours into. It's a nice change of pace from Battlefield, the game that I played the most, and it definitely has that competitive feel about it, even though I was playing the casual side of the game. In this video, I'm going to go through just a few things that I think are worth knowing about the game. I know I had a lot of questions before I played it, and I'm going to clear up a few things just now. Many people won't have tried this game, and they'll be wondering whether it's worth picking up, and watching this video will definitely help you make that decision. Starting off, I wanted to talk about the movement. It seems to me like they've based it on Pro Mod, which basically makes the game play more like Counter-Strike with a hint of Call of Duty. This gives a large performance gap between an expert or pro player and a beginner, meaning the skill ceiling is very high. This will add balance and is perfect for competitive play, and will force players to improve instead of just instantly winning. Take Battlefield 1 for example. The movement in that game is certainly not that skillful. In BF1 you get rewarded for hitting the target first and being really smart with your positioning, with moves such as flanks and peeks. In Battalion, I feel as if movement is really nice and caters for both skilled players, and of course new players can get used to it fairly quickly. The skill ceiling though is incredibly high. Any competitive players down below in the comments will be able to clear this up, but it's certainly not something that you're going to struggle with if you're just looking to play the game in a casual way. Animations. Clunky so far, but of course this will be developed over time. I think that the game does the basics well, and at this stage that is exactly what you want to be seeing. For the competitive scene, I would need to talk to someone with experience to see if it is currently going in the right direction, but the team developing the game has the brains and competitive knowledge to make this thing work. They've got several people there with competitive experience, and in doing so they're going to be building a game that has competitive gameplay as the focus, which is very, very important if that's what they're going for. There's no point in making a casual game and then trying to tune it to the competitive scene. You have to go competitive from the start. The graphics. I know a lot of people were complaining about the graphics when this game was first released, or at least shown to the public. My first impressions were not that great. It looks like a game from at least 5 to 10 years ago, but then when I thought about it for a second, competitive games usually force players to turn their settings down anyway in order to get the high frame rates and be more accurate at picking out enemies. This is of course up to you. Maybe you want a game that looks like Battlefield 1, or maybe you're happy with focusing on the gameplay. I think some of those flashy effects that you get in Battlefield and Call of Duty aren't really necessary, and they've lost those core principles of an FPS game. I think Battalion goes back to basics, and that really does show with the quality of gameplay. I was really enjoying it. The pace of the game. It's fast paced for the most part, and it really brought me back to the old days of Call of Duty. I think that for your average player, the game is well paced, and the player movement allows the very best players to get ahead of the game. I was playing some of the casual game modes, TDM, Capture the Flag, Domination, and I really enjoyed it. I felt that the game was quite fast paced, the way you respawn really quickly as well after you've been killed. It's not so demanding as a competitive 5v5 game mode would be, where when you die you can't come back. Of course there is that option in Battalion if you go to the ranked side of things. But I was just thinking that it was fun, it was a nice change of pace, it was that actual old school TDM that I was really missing. The gunplay. It's good so far from what I can tell. I used a mixture of weapons, but I'm yet to really work out which is best. Of course, if you are playing the ranked side of Battalion 1944, then knowing what weapon is useful for what situation is very important, as it is clearly built into the structure of the game. Many strategies can be developed in a similar way to how CSGO uses its economy system. As I mentioned, I'm not into the comp side of things, and I certainly have no plans of doing that in the future, down to me being nowhere near good enough and having no interest in that sort of stuff anyway. And to comment on the stats would require me to have that sort of knowledge, so I can't really say anything in that regard. Recoil is easily controllable however, and I got used to the controls in general within a few minutes of playing. As I said, there is a huge amount I can learn, but general movement and getting from A to B is as simple as any other FPS game. The lean mechanics are a little different to games such as PUBG or Rainbow Six Siege, but again, easy to get used to. The UI, simple, clean and not overcomplicated. I like it, and I think that with a few tweaks here and there, the team will have created something very nice. Finally, FPS and performance. The game runs like a gem, and I was getting some silly FPS throughout. There are also options to help run this game on low-end PCs, and the optimization has been made a priority in order for players to hit the sweet spots of FPS. This is very important, as for a game to go mainstream, it often helps if any PC can run it. I know a lot of people who couldn't actually pick up Battlefield 1, even though it's not the same sort of game, but they couldn't pick it up and play it just because their PCs wouldn't run it, and that means that they would have to go back to console in order to play it, just due to the price of a computer and a computer upgrade, especially in these times where GPUs cost a fortune and RAM cost a fortune. So having a game that can be run on anything, most laptops would probably be able to run this in a similar way to how CSGO is run on pretty much any PC. I think that's great. Now I know for a fact that when this game came out at 6 PM GMT on the 19th of January, the team were overwhelmed. They thought they were going to get through about 10% of the codes that they sent out. However, they got through 95%. So many people want to play this game. The hype is through the roof, and that is not just down to their PR team. It is down to the actual game. I know prominent streamers such as Shroud were playing it on release, and I really enjoyed watching them play just because of the competitive nature, and their skills were really being tested on this game. Even though it has obviously got some teething problems at this stage, simply down to the amount of traffic they've got moving through the servers and they just can't get everybody playing. This has happened with plenty of games in the past. It's simply down to them not anticipating how many people are excited and wanting to play this game. If you are playing it, I hope you're enjoying it. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the game so far and whether you think this has a future as not only a competitive game, but a game that many people are going to be playing casually as well. Will it be there as a genuine alternative to a Battlefield or a Call of Duty, even though it's not quite the same game? But will it be an alternative? I'm interested to see what you think. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.